Hello and welcome to today's episode of Simple Business Dream Life with me, Emma Hine. Today I want to talk about something that I see all of the time. And if I'm totally honest, something I had to learn the hard way myself. And it's this tendency to just keep adding more into our business because we think that's what's going to get us to where we want to get to. We need more offers, more content, more platforms, more strategies, more everything. And it feels like it makes sense, right? Because you're thinking, if I just do a bit more, if I just show up a bit more, create a bit more, then eventually it's all going to click into place. But what tends to happen is the complete opposite. You end up really busy. Your days are full of stuff. You're doing lots of things. You're thinking about your business all the time. But the income isn't keeping up. The income isn't where you want it to be, or it feels inconsistent, or it feels harder to earn than it should. And that's usually the point where people think, okay, I must need to do even more. And that's the trap. I've been there. I absolutely get it. I built a seven-figure business from the outside that looked so successful. But behind the scenes, it had become so complicated, so demanding that it basically ran my life. There were so many moving parts, so many things that needed me, my attention, my time, so many things that needed to be done just to keep it going. And I kept telling myself that it would calm down at some point. I told myself that for years. This was just a phase. This was just what it took. This is what building a business looks like. And eventually, I'm going to get to the bit where it feels easier. But that bit never came. And instead, I got to the point where I had nothing left to give. It wasn't some perfectly planned decision I made. It was just, I'm done, completely done. So I walked away. And honestly, it probably wasn't the best move on paper, but it was the only move I had left in me at the moment. But what came after that changed everything. Because when I started again, I knew I couldn't build the same thing twice. I knew I couldn't do what I had done the first time round. So I chose to do things differently. I followed what actually felt good, what felt aligned, what I genuinely wanted to be doing. And I simplified everything, stripped everything back, kept everything as simple and easy as I could. And I started sharing my experience, not just what worked, but how I had overcomplicated things, how I had made it so much harder than it needed to be. And now this is what I see all the time with people I work with. Brilliant business owners, people who are more than capable of making six or multi-six figures, but they're stuck in this cycle of doing too much, trying to be everywhere, trying to do everything, trying to keep up with all of the noise and trying to keep up with people who are way further ahead in their journey than they are. And instead of making progress, they end up overwhelmed, stretched, and still not getting what they want to get, still not seeing the results that they actually want to see. So when I talk about overcomplicating your business, this is what I mean. And I want to make it really real because it's not always obvious when you're in it. It's not always obvious when you're inside doing what is going on externally. A lot of the time, it actually looks like you're just really committed, really hardworking, really invested in your business, really trying to make things work. It can look like adding something new into your business because you're trained in it is the right thing to do. And you're thinking, well, I can do this as well. So I may as well add something in around this. But what happens is your messaging starts to get a bit blurry. People land on your page or hear you talk and they're not quite sure what you actually do or how you help them or why they should choose you. And it's not because you're not good at what you do, it's because there's too much there. You're trying to do too many different things. Or it could look like adding more and more offers. Because on paper, again, it makes total sense. You may be thinking, well, if there's more ways that people can work with me, I'm going to make more money, more offers, more sales. So you've got this offer, you've got that offer, and you've got something else over there and something else in the pipeline. And before you know it, you're splitting your time in so many different directions. You're delivering lots of different things, holding space in lots of different ways for your clients. But there's no real depth, no real scalability in any of this. Where actually often the shift you need is to simplify things. And looking at how you bring more people into one space, more one-to-many type offers, more leverage with the things that you were already doing well, less constantly trading your time. And another big one that I see is people jumping from strategy to strategy. You see one person doing something and it's working for them, so you think, I'll try that. Then you see something else working really well for somebody else, something completely different, but it's working. So you think, actually, I need to try that. And you end up constantly switching from strategy to strategy, never really giving anything the time or consistency it needs to actually work. But it feels productive because you're doing something. And I say this bit with a love, but also with a bit of a foot up your backside. None of this is because you're doing anything wrong. It usually comes from just wanting it to work faster, not fully trusting that you're already doing enough, feeling like you're missing something, or just being surrounded by so much noise that it's hard to stay in your own lane. But every time you add something unnecessary, every time you add something new, switch direction too quickly, every time you try to do all of the things, you're just splitting your energy. And that's what slows everything down. Whereas when you simplify, when you get really clear on what you do, who you help, and how you help them, when you commit to a strategy and actually give it space to work, when you focus on fewer things but do them properly, that's when things really start to build. That's when people start to get you. That's when your business starts to feel a lot less heavy and a lot more effective. And this is where slowing down to speed up really comes in. Because it can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like you're doing less, like you're falling behind, like you're not doing enough. But what you're actually doing is creating space to be doing things intentionally. You're stepping out of this reaction mode and stepping into actually choosing what you are doing, and more importantly, why you are doing it. And from that place, the things you do focus on start to work so much better. The biggest lie I used to believe was that if I just kept doing more, eventually I'd earn my freedom. Eventually I'd earn my freedom. That's what I believed. That one day it would all settle down. That all the effort, all the pushing, all the juggling would lead to things feeling easy. But that moment doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing things differently. So if you're listening to this and you recognize yourself in any of it, I don't want you to go away and try fixing everything. I don't want you to overhaul your entire business. I just want you to ask yourself one question. What is one thing in my business right now that feels more complicated than it needs to be? Just one. And then I want you to simplify that one thing. That might be an offer that's trying to do too much. It might be how you're showing up online. It might be something behind the scenes that you've completely overbuilt. Whatever it is, just start there. Because this doesn't come from a massive reset. It comes from small intentional shifts that bring you back to what actually works. And I want to leave you with this. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to exhaust yourself to be successful. You don't need to do more. And you don't need a business that takes more from you than it gives. You get to build something that supports your life, not the other way around. And if you're at that point where you know things need to change, but you're not sure what to simplify or what actually matters, that's exactly what I do. So come and connect with me. Send me a message. Let me know what's landed for you and let me help and guide you. Let's bring your business back to something that actually feels good and, more importantly, something that actually works for you. Thank you for listening. I will see you next time.